Everyone take a deep breath. I need everyone to take a deep breath. I need a deep breath. You know why? Because I hate technology. This guy, you see him? He's on red. So my mic might die in the middle of this video, and I'm just going to need everyone to pretend they don't notice when it happens. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Carly's Book Gems, where we talk about books and reading books and writing books and all things books. And I have a list of, you guessed it, books that I've read in the past June, May, April? 3 months, because that's the last time I recorded a video and posted on this channel. I think I did a February, March reading wrap up, something like that. Yeah, I've definitely read some books since then, and I know it's been a while since I posted a video, but we're back. I really wanted to talk about so far what I've read, because I've had a lot of good books since the last time we talked. And also, I think that since last time we talked, I wasn't able to come outside, and now I am able to be outside on the porch again because I love a good porch video. I want to just start probably with, I'm going to go in chronological order, okay? So, April, I read The Burning by Linda Castillo. If you don't know who that is, that's okay. It's actually I don't think she's actually local to the area. I don't really know. I'm going to go local author. She's a very successful author that came from, I believe, the area. All of her books are about murder mystery, crime, thriller novels within the Amish community, and it's so fascinating to me. Like I said, I live by a lot of Amish communities, very high population, and there's a lot of stuff, you know. For the most part, they do just mind their own business and have their happy lives, and I do love a lot of stuff about the Amish communities, but you know, to that extent, there is all kinds of crime no matter where you go. I don't think that a lot of the stuff she writes about is completely, obviously it's all fiction, so, but it's really fun to read about these mysteries in areas that I literally go to and pass through all of the time. So I read The Burning by her, and that was my first book. I actually picked it up at a book fair that was like local to me, and I actually got to ask her some questions about writing. She's speaking to a lot of us aspiring authors, and yeah, I picked up that was her newest book at the time, was The Burning. I think she's actually came out with a couple books now. She'd just be writing, like, I wish I could be on her level of the dedication and motivation. But The Burning was good gracious. It starts off very brutal. I would definitely look up, you know, some trigger stuff of like things that you can't handle, like gore. This was a little bit gory in the beginning, but like that was kind of it that I remember. But it definitely, like that, for like the first 15 pages made my stomach kind of turn a little bit. I was just like, she really made you feel like you were there. Okay. It is about a man gets brutally murdered in the Amish community, and we don't know why. We start to learn more about him, about his past and all of this stuff, and we're following this police officer, which her name is Kate Burkholder, and I think that that's like this is the only book I've read by her, but I believe that that is like a continuation of this character in her books. Like, she's always writing about Kate Burkholder for the most part. So it's kind of like that police officer. You're following her as she tries to crack the case. So if you're into that sort of thing, or maybe you're just like kind of curious about a little bit of Amish stuff with some mystery and thriller and crime, definitely pick that up because I think you would love it. Next, I read The Storied Life of A.J. Fikry. I don't know if that's how you say it, by Gabrielle Zevin, and I have not read anything by her besides this, and I know that she wrote Tomorrow. I have not read that one because it's had mixed reviews, and by mixed reviews I mean I've heard like some people rave about it, and then I've heard some people be like, get this off my desk, what is this? So I don't know, because I thought the premise of Tomorrow sounded really good to me, but anyways, I picked up this one instead because I haven't heard anything bad about The Storied Life of A.J. Fikry, and oh my gosh, it was so cute, and I loved the writing. So I feel like I might kind of like Tomorrow, but I don't know, because my fellow book friend on line here. Tabitha Tomes, go follow her, subscribe. She's awesome. She has very similar book tastes to me, and she, I believe, said that she was kind of like, about tomorrow, and she didn't read The Storied Life, and I got her to read it, and she liked The Storied Life, so I feel like I might have the same takes as her on that. I'm not sure. If you don't want to take my word for it on The Storied Life of A.J. Fikry, take it from Tabitha Tomes, because she also really liked it. So it's basically about this bookstore owner. He is basically a bachelor. Well, he's not a bachelor. He's actually a widow. So there's that. They're completely different. He is a bookstore owner and he's a widow. Something happens to him, which I was not expecting at all. I don't want to say it because it's a spoiler. And I really want you guys to read it, but something happens to him that just completely changes his perspective on life. He's kind of a Debbie Downer, honestly, throughout most of the book in a funny way. But if you love books, like if you're like a true book nerd, I really think you'd like this, because he really goes into like the criticizing of books and, you know, what he thinks about authors and certain other books, and like the way of the writing and plot structures, all that stuff, like all that nerdy stuff that you like about books. He talks about that in the book through his perspective. Yeah, it was just, I love reading books about bookstore owners. It's so fun because I want to do that someday so bad. And he starts to realize that he needs to not be so Debbie Downer, because there's a lot of things that are still important in life. And, you know, he's obviously going through it. He's a widow. So that's would probably make me a Debbie Downer as well. But, something happens to him where a light comes into his life, and it's awesome. So you should read that. Next, I read A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. Now, this was a recommendation by my other book friend on YouTube, and that's going to be Preacher Reads. He's awesome. Go follow him. He told me to read A Monster Calls. He raves about this book. Raves. You know, it's like a mixture of a little bit of horror. And I would say like horror, like slightly. Like it's not even really horror, to be honest. Like it's more so like a creepy vibe, and kind of like scary-ish. Basically, this book is about this boy who is dealing with his mom, who is like terminally ill. He keeps getting visited by this monster, like this gigantic monster keeps showing up at his bedroom window, and it's very terrifying. And this monster is basically talking to him and telling him, like, you know, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to go into it, but he keeps getting visited by this monster every night, and you start to figure out why. Truly a heartbreaking story. I read this book during probably the most inconvenient time that one should be reading this book, because during my personal life, there was a lot of stuff similar to what was happening in the book going on behind the scenes. So this definitely hit all of the strings for me personally, but I do think that a lot of people would really enjoy this. I think a lot of, and I say this with like a very lightly, because again, it's just kind of like creepy, but I think a lot of kids would like this book. And I remember that was one of my, I want to say critiques, but one of my things, because I was like, this kind of feels like it's written for kids who are dealing with this, you know, like losing a parent. It kind of felt like it was written that way, just because the writing was, I don't want to say like simple, like it wasn't like lush writing. It did feel like the perspective was for someone maybe younger. And then I started reading that that kind of was his, like that was why he was writing it. So I don't know. I'm not really 100% sure. That was all kind of like stuff that I heard. So I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I was feeling like it was. I would definitely recommend that to most people. I think it's a really good book. If you like crying, which I like crying. Sorry, it's really hot out here, guys. It wasn't that hot, and it just got really hot. Like, it's like that mid-afternoon sun. It's really hot in the shade. We have a really bad heat wave going on. Oh, and I don't know if you saw my shirt. Sorry, I have to show it off. I heart, but it's a ladybug. Noah Khan, I saw him in Pittsburgh on Friday. It was amazing. Amazing. I have no other words. He's truly a gem of this earth. Gem. He is a gem. Okay? Approved by Carly's Book Gems. Noah Khan. Moving on to I Who Have Never Known Men. I read that. Finally, I read that. That was like a trending book here on BookTube, and I needed to read that book badly. So I picked it up because there was a huge buddy read going on. Huge buddy read. And I will say, I understand the hype around it, but it it didn't really like hit for me like I think it did for a lot of other people. This was one of those like existential dread books, which usually I kind of like. But I think that it kind of got monotonous. You know, we're in this dystopian society, which I wouldn't even call it that, because like basically we have a bunch of women who have been locked up in these cages, and they don't know why. They don't remember anything. They've been locked in these cages underground by these guards who just watch them day in and day out, and they get their food, they sleep, they wake up, they do the whole thing all over again. And I don't really want to spoil anything, but eventually they aren't in the cages, if you know what I'm saying, and they're starting to figure out what's going on. And then it's back into another cycle of doing the same thing over and over and over again. But I don't want to spoil this, but basically it was just a little monotonous. I think it had a lot of beautiful lines and a lot of beautiful takes on just like dystopian books. They can really get into what is real life and dissect a lot of those feelings and situations in our real world that is a real place, and like flip that on its head in a dystopian society, because it's like putting something in a new light that isn't normal, and you can kind of look at it and be like, this is insane. But then if you look at it in our light, you're like, well, it's kind of what's going on over here, you know, on some sort of situation. However, for me personally, I don't think I'd ever reread it again. It was really short, so it wasn't like a huge time commitment thing, but I'm glad that I read it. It just was like kind of like a 3-star for me, I think. And that's, yeah, I have all of these reviews at some point somewhere on my, I usually use Fable the most. I need to start using Pagebound because that's connected to Kobo, which hasn't happened yet, but it's going to happen. And I'm really excited about that because then I can like connect my Kobo reads to that. Next is, okay, so then I was like, all right, existential dread. This was really like dark and sad and depressing and monotonous. I need something to like pick me up. And so I picked up Nora Goes Off Script by Annabel Monaghan. And I heard about this, I forget who I heard. I just like threw out like the romance rom-com community of book readers. And that one kind of came up a few times. That kind of sounded like something I'd like. And I really enjoyed it. I actually did. I do go into every single like rom-com book with my guards up because I'm just so terrified that it's just not gonna work for me because a lot of them don't. But this one worked. This one was good. The writing was great. I think it was witty, it was funny. The main character, I didn't like hate her at all, which a lot of times these rom-coms I'm like, oh, these main characters are so insufferable. But this was a main character that was not insufferable. She is a writer who writes rom-com movies, like the typical Hallmark stuff, but she makes money off of it because it pays. But she recently wrote a script that actually was not so much rom-com and a lot of like drama, kind of emotional, and it got picked up by a bigger like deal. And it's, the set is at her house because she wrote this basically about her own life. And the actor who plays her ex-husband is staying with her. What happened, the only thing about this book that I don't know if I can say because it might be a spoiler is I just don't really understand how so maybe if you don't want anything spoiled, I'm just gonna give you the chance to skip maybe like 1 minute ahead. Basically, I don't really understand why she was so easy into letting this man stay in her house, and he ended up kind of just like hanging out and not leaving. And my one tweak and criticism was just like, why would you, like, there really wasn't any sort of friction of not letting this man stay with her children, by the way. Like, she has children here. I don't care how famous you are, you're still a stranger. I don't think I would let you just so casually hang out at my house the way that she was, just like not even alarmed or like weirded out. I don't know, it just felt a little unrealistic. Like, I feel like anybody else might be like, hey, you can't sleep on my porch, or hey, can you go home, or can you do something here, and I'm not gonna let you in within like one conversation and stay here. I don't know, that was just my thing. But other than that, it was really fun, and I got past that and it was fine, and I thought it was really cute and something I needed after the existential dread. So the next book that I read, oh, I am so excited to talk about this one because this book set me off into a extremely hyper fixation on the vibes, and that's going to be Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaghy? Charlotte McConaghy? I don't know, I can't remember how to pronounce it, but Oh my gosh, this was like raved about everywhere for a while, and I'm kind of late to the party, but now I know why. For once, a book that was hyped deserves the hype, because a lot of times I read it and I'm like, what the heck is wrong with y'all? Like, what? But this one, I was like, I am here for it. I can be a part of this crowd. This book was so good to me. I loved everything about it. I loved the atmosphere of this dark island. Essentially, a woman washes up on shore. This family is staying at this island, and by family I mean a dad and 3 children living at this island because he is responsible of taking care of the seeds for this, basically like the national conservation. I don't know, their seeds, all of the seeds and all of the plants in the whole entire world in case the world explodes or something and we need to replant everything. That's where all these seeds are kept, and making sure that they're safe and confined and nothing happens to them and they're ready to go in case that happens. So it's like a very important job. But he basically stays at this island and takes care of it. However, the island is starting to wash away, and it's affecting where the seeds are being kept. Then this woman washes up on shore, unannounced, barely alive, and they save her. Start to like talk to each other, understand each other why, but she doesn't really say why she's there, because we find out the reason why she's there, and that she is not telling them because she can't tell them because of the reason why she's there. And we start to learn this mystery of what the heck's going on. I loved this atmosphere. This island was so like dark and coastal. Not really good at geography, but whatever the vibe was, there's seals, there's whales, there's birds, all of these animals that I was like, oh, penguins, how could I forget penguins? She just like explained the nature so well, and I found out that she's actually a very dedicated environmentalist, and she has visited islands that are very similar to this, and one of the islands that she visited is basically what this island is. Just it's like a fictional island that she based off of a real island, and where, you know, like the king royal, I forget, they're like king penguins or something, I forget what their name is, but you know, and like I always think of that animated movie, I forget what it's called, like it's not Happy Feet, but it's the other one where they surf. Those penguins live there. It's like the one place where they actually have babies. So anywho, the mystery is very, very good. The island itself, I was transported, and I just loved it. I loved the dark, dreary coastal vibe, which made me start to pick out some more books like that, and we'll get to that here in a second. But after I read that, I read Jade City by Fonda. This was a book that I read for book club because I put it in and it won for book club, yay. It was just really long though, but we wanted to try like a series for fun. Everyone really liked it for the most part. I was really looking forward to reading this book. However, Fonda Lee's writing, I think, is a little too tell rather than show for me. She does a lot of telling. Lots of telling. And I understand, like, with fantasy, you have to kind of, like, go through some history, and that book 1 is usually like that, but I don't know why it was just a lot. And, you know, it's kind of putting it in perspective for me, because I am reading a fantasy book right now that's not doing that at all, and it still has a lot of lore that I have what I need to know for the time being, but there's still a lot that I don't know, but I'm okay with that because we just kind of start to learn through dialogue and these interactions and with characters, the places that they go. Fonda Lee likes to just really make sure you have the whole scroll of history before you get into some stuff. And she is I don't want this to come off in the wrong way, she is a fantastic writer. I mean, her prose is really, it's great. It's not like lavender or anything like that, whatever the kids call it these days. Sorry, there's a wasp and I'm scared. Okay, it's going near the fan. Is it gonna get sliced? Okay, it's gone. Yeah, her writing is not like extremely woo 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 woo, you know, like frou frou or whatever, and not hard to read. It's actually very easy to read, but it's just a lot of tell and a whole lot of not showing, and I'm not a huge fan about that. So anyways, I did like the story, and these characters are very, very well done. I love Hilo, and that's pretty much the one that I really like so far. But yeah, I might continue it. I don't know when. It's not like a huge priority for me, just because, like I said, it took me a while to get through it. I listened for most of it, which helped, and I think the audiobooks are really, really good. But I don't know, maybe physically reading would have helped. That's kind of like a whole thing that I've been having recently. Maybe I'll talk about that later, but yeah, I don't know. That was that. So, When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy. This one was good. I was waiting for this one to be good, and I'm so glad it actually was good. So for those who haven't heard, which is nobody ever because I keep talking about this book, Neil McRobert, this author, I follow him, and he kept talking about, I think he's really good friends with Nat Cassidy, and so he was always posting about When the Wolf Comes Home and how much he loved it, and I'm like, well, I love what you wrote, so anything that you like, I must like. So I picked it up. Well, another reason I started reading it is Sid Bookworm here on BookTube. She read that, and she was like, this is one of like my favorites I've read in a really long time. I'm like, okay, so I gotta read this. So this is a horror book, okay? You know, before I was like, I don't know if this is horror. This is horror. This is horror. This is violent. This is gruesome. But it also has all of the things I love about true horror, which is emotional, impactful moments and characters and just like dire situations. Just so fun to me. I love it. That's my favorite thing about horror, is putting ordinary people in horrific situations. I went into it thinking that it was going to be something, and then it hits a point where I'm like, oh, this isn't going to be anything like I thought it was going to be. And I'm way more excited. A lot of the people that I told to read it, which is my good friend Jeremy, who is in the Book Street Boys Discord. It's where we all hang out. People, come on, join it. Join the fun where you can get in on somebody reads. I told everyone to read it, but he's the one who actually read it. And then Preacher Reads actually read it too. Both really liked it. So if you can't trust me, trust both of my very trusted book friends. So yeah, I loved that book. And I cannot wait to read more of his books. I know that someone told me to read his other books, which was Nestlings, which is like a haunted house story. Hey, that's literally my favorite book to read about, so I'm gonna read that. Also, if you do read When the Wolf Comes Home, please, 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 I'm begging you, listen to the audio part of his afterword, because I think the ending is a little bit like, you're like, oh God. But if you listen to the afterword, everything kind of goes like this. And if you don't know what I'm doing, I'm basically saying it's all comes together. Because that was a horrible, I was trying to do like a puzzle piece. Horrible way of doing that. Basically, it all comes together. He's a amazing narrator. I think he also does like acting, which would explain why he's so good at narrating. Moving on to my most recent book that I finished, and that is Whalefall by Daniel Kraus. This one was extremely random. I'm trying to remember why I picked this up, and I think it was because, how could I forget why I picked this up? It was the whole reason why I got into my rant about the vibes that I'm into, and it's because of Wild Dark Shore. So I actually asked the internet, hey, I loved Wild Dark Shore, and I loved every single vibe this book had inside of it. What else should I read that's similar? And Whalefall by Daniel Kraus was one of them. It's like, oh, it's got the ocean vibes, it's got the sea creatures, it's got, you know, like the dark themes, and it's very emotional, and I'm like, sign me up now. So I picked it up, and I had it on audio for most of it. I did read a little bit on the Kobo, but audio mostly because I had a really long drive, and the audio was fantastic. Oh God, this book surprised me. I'm so glad I read this. And I didn't even know they're turning that into a movie this year. Comes out like in September or November or something like that. So now I get to be really annoying and say I read the book. And I love being able to say that. So if you haven't read that yet and you want to read it and be another annoying person like me and go watch the movie later and you can read the book first, you should. It's super short. The chapters are like super, just perfect. Like they're really, really short, delicious, love it. And you'll get through it really fast. I think he does a lot of interesting thing in his writing with like different literary devices and all that jazz. But basically, sorry, I didn't even tell you what this book's about. It is this boy whose father has passed away, and he passed away in a dive because they are divers professionally, I think, professionally for the most part. He basically went out to sea and he did not come back on a diving expedition that he did himself, by himself. His son goes out there to try and collect and find his body because they never recovered his body. And on his endeavor towards trying to find it, he encounters a whale and gets swallowed. Yeah. I mean, if that doesn't make you want to read this book, I don't know what would, besides it's dark, emotional, and make you cry. That might be enough. But he gets swallowed by a whale. So there's that, and you get to experience what it would be like to be swallowed by a whale. And I will say, like, when I first heard that, I was like, is this gonna be, like, cringe? Because you know how sometimes, like, books that are, like, extremely out there with something like that, you're like, this is gonna be, like, not realistic. this was really realistic. Like, this might actually be as close as we're gonna get to what it's like to be swallowed by a whale and survive. And that's me doing no research to figure out if that's actually happened to somebody before, which it probably has. This was really realistic, and I think that's why I liked it so much. And there's just like a ton of science packed into it. Like, I remember when I was younger, I wanted to be a marine biologist. Don't know what I was thinking because I'm not that smart, but I loved the sea, and I still love the sea. If that's something you're into, I think you would love this book. It's got all kinds of facts in there. He uses a lot of that knowledge while he's inside the whale. So yeah, that is what I read so far. I can't believe, I feel like I powered through. We're at 32 minutes. I feel like I really powered through. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, almost 10 books. Not quite. I'm gonna talk about what I'm currently reading, and then I'm actually gonna record another video of what's on deck, my TBR, because it's probably gonna start raining here soon. And sometimes when it rains, if it's really windy and stormy normy, it will blow into the patio. Oh, my mic died. So I've been holding it. Don't know how long that's been. I told you it would happen. I told you. I am currently reading The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. And I have it right here. It's starting to rain. I gotta hurry up. The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. I am having a wonderful time. And it's like a beautiful version. And it has pictures that she drew herself. So, listen, I haven't read romantasy in a really long time. And I'm sorry if you can't really hear me because of the rain. I apologize. But I have not read romantasy in a really long time. I was really nervous, and me and my friend went shopping for books and all of the fun book stuff, and we both wanted to read this, and it was there, and so we both bought it, and I was like, I'm kind of in the mood for some fantasy. It's been a minute since I've read fantasy, like since last summer, I think. And I am having a good time, and it's not, I've kind of been a little bit in the Debbie Downer stage about like romantasy recently, just because I feel like it's been a lot of cookie cutter stuff, and that makes me a little sad. But this does not, like, the writing is here, baby. The writing is here. Rachel Gillig. And I listened to One Dark Window, and I think I wish I would have physically read that. Physical reading, for me, is just always going to be top tier. And I know a lot of people feel that way. I love audiobooks. I love listening, and I love being able to do things. But I do think it has affected my reviews on books, because I just feel like there's something missing when I'm physically reading that I don't get with the audiobooks. But anyways, I'm on page like 204. So about halfway, the plot is plotting. And that's the thing that I love about it, is that it's not, I need plot, obviously. Like, you know, I think sometimes with like romantasy, a lot of people are just, you know, they're really into the romance part of it, and that's fine, and I'm here for that. But like, for me personally, I need like a really good plot, especially for fantasy. And oh my god, my phone's gonna die now. Okay, so that's what I'm currently reading, and I'm also currently reading, no biggie whatsoever, East of Eden by John Steinbeck. Super light read, right? Like, oh my gosh, like it's so quick, and you know, like woohoo, like I'll be done in no time, right? I'm actually making some serious progress though. What is this? Not quite halfway. I pick it up whenever I'm like really ready to like completely dive in and give it my full attention. I did listen to a little bit, and then I actually had to go back and reread that because I just feel like I wasn't giving it the proper attention space for it. Like, his writing is phenomenal. Spectacular. It's a classic for a reason. And I can't wait to see if this lands on like one of the best books I've ever read. I'm not sure. I can't tell yet. I can't tell. I can tell that I've highlighted and a couple things that he's written, and it was... Ugh, I just love the way he writes. It's so good, and it's actually very easy to read, way easier than I thought it was going to be. It's also like reading like a horror book, and I've said that multiple times. Like, there's a lot of situations and people in this book that are like straight up out of a horror book, Stephen King kind of situation. So I was like shocked with that. I will tell you about what I'm going to read next, what my TBR is looking like for the rest of summer. It's currently July 5th. Because tomorrow's my birthday. We don't want to talk about it. It's kind of crazy that tomorrow's my birthday. It's on a Monday. Not ideal for a birthday, but, you know, I don't know what I'm going to do for that yet. So I've bought a lot of books recently. I really don't need any more, but maybe we'll do something along those lines. Who knows? But I am going to go charge my phone and my microphone so that I can record another TBR video. I will see you guys in that. Let me know what you think about any of these books and if my takes are horrible or if you think my takes are good too, but yeah. Anyways, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!